What is going on, guys? All right, today's exciting. It's interesting. It's different because we're going to be introducing two new people to the Men of Now podcast that have not been on before. And before we dive into that, go ahead and introduce everybody. Mr. Joel, how you doing?
Good afternoon, brother.
We've got Ricky. How are you doing, brother?
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely. And Richie, how are you doing?
What's up, fellas? Honored to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you here.
Absolutely.
So before we even dive into this, the whole dry spell, breaking a dry spell, being successful in dating, I want to know who the heck you guys are. And I want the audience to know who the heck you guys are because, like, obviously I know. But I want to hand it off to you. So because it's down like this, Richie, how about you go first?
All right. So, yeah, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised here. Loving Italian-American family. Always was in a party atmosphere and trying to bring people together, really raise the vibes of everybody and create value in between people. Always trying to help and actually get people on the same page and create value for each and every person in that room, in that environment. So we want to bring everybody together and everybody raise as a team and really enjoy life. That's like the main goal of it. Dating and, getting with women always came natural to me. But I also had some spells and some relationship issues where I had to value myself as a man and actually level up and become a higher value man. So I have some knowledge to give to people.
Oh, no, I'm excited for it. We've talked about that too. Like, just helping friends. That's how it naturally came to me. It's just over time, because I'm passionate about it, helping friends and then realizing how I could help friends to then help the masses. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely, man.
All right, let's turn it to you, Ricky.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Ricky Goodall, but that's not really who I am. That's just a character that I created to fit into the world. And I started creating Ricky's identity at birth, and I've continued creating him ever since. And I started creating this identity so I could feel loved and accepted. I started creating all these beliefs and perspectives and ideas of who I need to be and how I need to show up in the world so I can get love from the world. And then one day I realized that that's not really who I am. And I was living an inauthentic, dishonest life. So now I spend the majority of my life inspiring other people to find their true authenticity and connect to who they really are underneath that character and that identity that they created to fit in to the world. So I used to be a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And then after I retired from MMA, I became an initiated shaman, an initiated ceremonial high magician and coach and all these other things. But I identify as a mixed magical artist. So I create experiences for people to discover who they really are.
That's awesome, man.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really really cool. And you know what? Before we even dive into this entire discussion here, Joel, do you have something coming for Sobriety University this week?
Yeah, we are going to be launching the Sobriety University community. So it's going to be a place where you can come and you can meet other people in recovery. Get that support you might need outside the confines of your own, social circle and inner network. And it's just going to be a great place to come hang out. We're going to be doing like weekly calls. We're going to be having exclusive content that won't be on the Sobriety University YouTube channel. And essentially, again, it's just a place to connect with other like-minded men and women that are wanting to get sober. I'm sure you'll see some of the lads here in that group. And yeah, just super excited to be starting it.
Good stuff. Definitely very excited for that. So I want to start this conversation off with a question. And before I get there, essentially this entire discussion is based on breaking a dry spell. And just to clarify for anybody who may not know, a dry spell is essentially when you have not had sex in X period of time and you just can't figure out how to make it work. And so I want to start off with a question. What has been your longest dry spell?
Man, for cracking us open.
Yeah. Okay, so if we go into it like this, dry spell, that's a loaded question to me. A loaded question because a dry spell is if you're in a committed relationship, getting out of a dry spell, a committed relationship, so you're not getting with other women, or when you're single and you're not attracting other women in your life. So it's like multifaceted question.
Yeah,
For me,
no, I got you. It's essentially from one period, like one instance of having sex to a future instance of having sex. How long?
I mean, for me personally, not too long. When I'm in a single game, probably like a couple of weeks to a month. But the issue with that is it's the why of why you're in the dry spell. That's what it is to me. It's like if you have to level up as a man, if you have to go to the gym, get your mind right, read some books, and fix your mindset. That's the main issue in that whole thing. The occult approach and the approach on women should come naturally once you have that confidence and you start leveling up and you start feeling good about yourself and your mindset straight. You could talk to anyone, you could connect with anyone, and it doesn't even have to be approaching women in general. It should be connecting with everyone. That's how you master your game. That's how you sharpen your sword and master your craft.
I like that. Ricky, what about you?
Yeah, thanks. So as you said, I was like, how long has it been? In December, I left for Canada, came to Tulum, and I was originally just going to take a break from my relationship. So at that time, I was taking like 4 to 6 weeks away, and I was going to go back to Canada. But then I decided to break up with my girlfriend, and my intention was to practice celibacy intentionally, to practice semen retention, to focus on my purpose, to get really connected to who I am as a man. Because after every breakup, I had the same pattern. I would go right out and start trying to validate myself through sex. I'd start having sex with women I wasn't even really that attracted to, so I could get back in the game. But really what that did for me is just created a lot of sexual shame that later on I had to deal with through therapy and through coaching and through different types of healing. So this time I intentionally dove into my celibacy, and I was like, okay, well, what if I don't give in to that need for validation that I always used to use women for? Like, who will I become on the other side of that? So I went 5 months. I went from this, well, no, maybe 4 months, the end of December to the beginning of April. And then what happened was I was running this conscious intimacy game. There was this girl there that I connected with, and it was just like, it was game over after that. But yeah, I would say about 4 months. And that was the longest I've gone since I was like a teenager or something, I would say. I definitely went longer as a teenager, but yeah, longest in my adult years.
Interesting. Joel, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the same boat as Richie. Like I see it kind of more as like dating too, like taking a break from dating, taking a break from even just interacting with women. It doesn't just have to be sexual. I was a late bloomer, so I didn't get started on this journey till later. Like I had a girlfriend in high school, but we Christian background, grew up Catholic, so like the whole idea of sex and all that was just very taboo and was not discussed or anything. So I got into college, started getting into drugs and alcohol and stuff. And so my ability to connect intimately with women or people in general was just non-existent. So once I got sober and I was able to start leveling up, that started to change. And for me, this last couple of months, I've been back in my hometown. I've been working on getting some things going financially. So, you know, I'm not bringing, I'm bringing the girls back to my mom's house. Just not a good look. So yeah, I've been completely separated from it, and it's crazy because they say like you're getting laid or you're making money. You're not doing both. And I think, you know, I don't think that's 100% true, but I really took that to heart this last 2 months, and I'm like, okay, I'm going all in on work. I'm going all in on getting some of the stuff we have behind the scenes going, and it's really yielded a lot of benefits. So now, as of tomorrow, I'm headed to Mexico City and going to be hopping off a plane at 10:30 a.m. and hanging out with Jaron for the next few months, and I'm just gonna get back in it. So I can't wait. It's time.
That's awesome, man. Dude, I'm so excited for what you guys are gonna be doing. I think myself, I'm trying to think on some of those dry spells. I think my longest dry spell was around 8 months after a breakup before things hit again. And I needed to do a lot of self work, and I think that's kind of it's kind of what we're talking about, is that self work, is making sure that you are your whole person to be able to do it, and not doing it in the way that Ricky was saying for self validation, and then you feel shame afterwards from some of the decisions that you had made. And so I think it was around 8 months for me. And personally, I didn't lose my virginity until 17. So it's been fairly consistent. But what I find interesting about this whole topic is the statistic that they put out, that essentially men aged 18 to 30 have not, 1/3 of them have not had sex in the past year. Now, data changes as time goes on, but I just found that fascinating, and I don't understand that because it's not difficult to find, a partner, but I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about 18 to 30, that was the demographic.
Yep, 18 to 30.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people in this day of age, they're really not trying to, hone in on themselves, really focus on themselves. It's a very like technology world, so everything's on the online dating and hiding behind screens. Sometimes you really have to get out there in the world. That's the main thing, is to connect with people. Get to the gym, read a few books, listen to a few podcasts, and then implement what you're learning. It's good to have the knowledge, but you have to take action. You have to build yourself up, and you have to be confident within yourself. There has to be like a stone wall where you could talk to anyone because you know your value. If you value yourself at the highest level, nobody's gonna interject that. That's you, and that's what you want to put out there, and you want to connect with those people. So that's like the main thing, is the inner work. Once you get that done and you get your body in check and your soul in check, everything's gonna start flowing. And if it doesn't flow, that is God, the universe, telling you that's not the person or that's not the situation you want to be in. Where you're gonna wind up is meant to happen, in my opinion.
Oh, I love that, man. That hit home. Like that.
Yep.
Universe is always on your side with dating. I think that part gets missed a lot. Like, I got to go out and do it, and there's truth to that, right? Like, God's just not going to bring someone to your door, but you got to be out and you got to be hitting the streets. You got to be on the apps or however you want to do it and putting in that action. So, I really like that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I mean, I was never taught the psychology of women growing up, to at least not in a healthy way. I mean, my father actually did have a lot of women coming over when I was younger, so I learned a lot of things, but they're pretty much toxic masculinity behaviors. So a lot about like just like the intense game of putting women down and manipulating and all of these types of behaviors. So I imagine that for me, what's been the biggest challenge in my life is not fully understanding the psychology of women. And until I started understanding the psychology of women, particularly that women are most attracted to me when I'm most focused on my purpose. And so if I can just stay focused on my purpose and be in the vicinity of women, then I'm going to have more opportunities. But of course, the four of us on this call, it's like, I imagine that we all have some assets and some characteristics, and we're all purpose driven. So sometimes I forget that I have some natural tendencies, some natural abilities, or some natural characteristics that the average guy might not have. And like Richie said, in this world of technology where we're so distracted, and Joel, this is a big passion of yours, is like distracted by substances, or distracted by TV, or distracted by social media, or distracted by dating apps. It's really easy for me to forget that dating is a natural progression of a relationship when there's attraction. But if I don't understand how to know when a girl's attracted to me, or I don't understand how to create a space of safety for her to want to open up and to be intimate with me, then it's not going to be possible for me to ascend that relationship into a place where sex happens. So it's like attraction is not a choice. But if I'm not around women and I'm not putting myself out there, then there's no way that they can be attracted to me.
Mm-hmm. I think you hit it right on the head there, like to answer Huds' question. And Huds, just for can you remind us of the question again, just one more time? Like,
I don't remember.
Okay.
It was about 18 to 30. Like guys 18 to 30. Like why are 1 and 3 not having sex? I think was
yeah. There you go. I just listening so much to you guys' stories. My bad.
Yeah, and I heard this this one quote. I forgot who really said it, but it was, we are like biological creatures living in a medieval structure with godlike technology.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to adapt to this world if you're not really within yourself. If you're putting your value outside of yourself and you're not secure and strong, you're never gonna. It's going to be hard to attract women in your life, or in general people in your life. Higher value people, good circles like this. That's the key. That's the key to it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it's very easy. I tell this to people. It's very easy to get laid, but it's very difficult to have, happy, healthy, long-term relationships. And when I say relationship, I don't mean just with women. I mean overall, like even this discussion right now, developing of relationship together and having it flourish. And that's the hard part. Because I have a friend. He's fairly shallow, in the sense that he's able to get laid all the time, but no girl wants to stay with him past like 3 months, and that pains him inside. But he's not looking inward and understanding. You know what? The common denominator in everything is me. So once I fix myself, then I will get what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think too, when Huds, you say fix yourself, like if you guys are watching, don't be like, oh my God, I got to undo all the trauma I've ever gone through. Like, it's a progression, like Ricky said. Like, you're going to get to different checkpoints. Like, I like to think about it as a video game. So the more inner work you do, the more little opportunities you're going to get in the real world to get that dating success. And it just might, it might come just randomly. It might come when you probably will least expect it. I think a big part to Huds' question is why 18 to 28 is not being able to get, intimacy. I think technology has a big role to play with it. And I was talking about this to a friend today. Like, when you look at the Gen Z generation, right? They grew up on these things. I remember I used to work at Target, and there was like a 2-year-old on an iPad in a cart. And I just remember thinking like, oh man, we're so screwed.
Yes. Dude, that's so funny you mentioned that. So I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you for this because this was the most bizarre thing that I saw this morning. So there was, yesterday was my birthday. And so my sister surprised me by coming up, and she got a very, very nice hotel, like a 4-star, 5-star hotel or something. And it was fantastic. But this morning when we were leaving, I saw this gorgeous, gorgeous blonde woman walk in, and she was with her child. And her child was holding an iPad, earbuds in, following her around like a robot, like walking, like they were like going to the bathroom or whatever, and like going into the woman's room. And I'm just like, what's going on? There's no communication whatsoever. And this child is being trained to the device, not trained for social interaction. And I think I know it's so important that as a child, like, play and communication and things like that. But instead, here, I don't have to be the parent. Here's the parent.
Yep. Yeah, it's like who is raising the kid? Who is raising the young daughter or the young man to become an adult human at one point in their life?
Well, hopefully not now podcast, but probably not. So we're gonna go with maybe what's his name, Mr. Beast or whatever. 100% Huds. And like I play a lot of pickup hoops, and so I'll go to the gym. It's called whatever Princeton Club, and it's a lot of high schoolers go there, and you can't really talk to them. Like, they talk in like dances or like the TikTok dances. Like, they communicate. I'm not even kidding.
What's going on, Joel?
Not
much, man. I'm just here to play hoops. That's cool. Let's see what goes on next. Like,
exactly, man. Were you there? Were you there last night? Total. And like, you try to have a conversation with them, and they are just so disconnected. And it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens in the next 10 years because, I think it's gonna be split up into 2 camps. Where one camp, a bunch of kids are really good with technology, and they learn those skills. They like finally get it together. There's another camp though that they're gonna have a hard time, and it's just gonna be very interesting what happens.
So what do we do about it?
That's an awesome question. Like I said, it's hard to answer like on a broad spectrum, but the way I went about it was personal development. You have to fix yourself. That, like we were mentioning before, you have to fix yourself. Your mindset is extremely important. Once you adopt that like abundance mindset of, there are so many people in this world that you can connect with, and you have to. It's also called like a law of assumption, which I'm into. I assume every interaction I go into is going to go really well. and I start talking to people like I know them for maybe 5 years at least. So everyone feels comfortable. Once you can open them up and you could open yourself up, it's like an art of seduction type thing. Then an authentic intimacy is going to develop, and you could do that with women or with business partners or with anything in general. But it's going to help everyone involved. That's the main thing. It's not about just for you. It's about everybody. So that's very important.
So how do you bring that in, Rishi, like when you're going up to a woman versus a guy, for example? Because like it's with a guy, it's like you're not going to sleep with them, you're going to network.
Right. Yeah. The approach is somewhat the same. It's just that I will escalate it in a sexual fashion when I'm talking to a woman that I'm attracted to. So that's the main thing. You can't be platonic and just be friendly with the woman. You have to know that you got to put that you're interested in them. So just a little bit more flirty, a little bit more smiling, a little bit light touches if they're willing for that. Most of the time they are if they're into you. So that's a way that you have to escalate up that elevator. But if you're talking to a man and it's a business thing, you want to hear their story. You want to hear about their childhood or their kids, and you want them to open up to you so you have an actual relationship with them. It's not a lot of people think men and women are so far apart. We're people. Everyone has that fear of approaching a woman because they lack that confidence or they don't know how to talk to women. But at the end of the day, it's not that hard. It's really not.
Oh man, that's good to hear. Yeah, I think sometimes like one of the biggest mistakes has been going into the approach and then kind of treating the approach like almost like you're talking to a homie. And then that's where it gets like, like they're like, yeah, I'm not into this. So I like what you said.
There's that fine line that you have to find, and crafting your game does come with experience and how to actually get the woman to open up to you. That takes some time, but the more you try, the better you'll be. But you also have to go into this with like I said, that abundance mindset. You can't just be like that one girl at the bar, you're looking at her all night and you don't approach her. You gotta get out there. You gotta snap back into this and get going. The more you could talk to different women, the world is yours then. You have to create different relationships with them.
And Ricky, you and I have been talking a lot about this behind the scenes. Like, you had a really cool experience with this. And would you like to share that?
Yeah. Well, first I want to answer Alex's question. He asked about like, what do we do? And I think like as a man, for me, at the end of, the peak of my fighting career, I had a really bad knockout. And I started getting really depressed and insecure, and I was getting jealous of my relationship with my girlfriend. And then she broke up with me, and I was devastated, like totally devastated. I was suicidal thoughts and depressed and using cocaine, using alcohol. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I didn't even want to be in that relationship anymore, but I couldn't let go. I was obsessed. I was just like calling her and texting her and emailing her and trying to get back together with her. That was in like 2012. And so that began this spiritual healing journey that eventually led me to recognize that my relationship with women are an archetype or a reflection of my relationship with my mother and the unhealed, unprocessed pain and trauma between me and my relationship with my mother. So if I don't heal that trauma, if I don't do that work to process the unhealed pain with my mother, I'm never going to reach my potential in my relationships with women. It's just not possible, because my fundamental belief system with women, like, don't get me wrong, I might pick up women or I might date women, which I was great at, but I couldn't maintain healthy relationships with women. And I would always seem to attract the kinds of women that had the same codependent issues that I was dealing with, the same unhealed trauma that I was dealing with. So the relationships would kind of start out the same with me picking up or approaching or dating the woman that I wanted, but then they would end up kind of the same way, with the same types of codependent patterns, the same types of manifestations of behavioral issues in the relationship. So once I started healing my relationship with my mother, and just to be clear, this doesn't mean I have a great relationship with my mother now, but some of the guys watching, maybe it's not possible for you. Maybe you just, you have to have strong boundaries with your mom, or maybe she's passed on or whatever it might be. But we can still heal the relationship with her through psychology, through coaching, et cetera. And so that's kind of what really changed it for me. It's like I couldn't reach my potential with women until I started healing those parts of myself. I started really healing my relationship with my mother and healing the unprocessed trauma, the abandonment issues, so like neediness, that I was needing so much love from my mother and I was seeking it through women. And even though I could put on a good front for a little while and I could pretend to be confident and pretend to be purposeful, when it got down to it, I would start getting triggered and getting insecure and needy and women can read that from us. Women are emotional beings, we're logical beings, so I try to logic things and women can feel it, so they can feel that neediness and I can't hide it for long. So I think that's fundamental. Like, I think the guys out there, like, if they really want to get a handle on this stuff, like, start there, start in the relationship, build, like what Richie said, build self-esteem, build purpose, build confidence, and heal your relationships to the feminine, to women, because without that, there's no foundation.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. That's definitely one of the big things that I think guys don't understand. They come into this space of self-development, especially when it comes to dating, and instead of going at it from the right approach, looking at it like man, woman, these relationships, instead they view it as like it's like a goal to get laid, and that's not really what it's all about.
It's a never-ending hole. And I went there, and I'm sure some of you guys have too. Like, when I first discovered game was in 2007 or something. When I was at the beginning of my MMA career, I went from being an overweight, insecure guy to like becoming an MMA fighter, and then learning game and learning the manipulative pickup techniques. And it was this never-ending journey, because it's like I was seeking validation through sex. So it's like it was never enough. But then when I started healing the deeper needs for validation, which were my relationship with my mother ultimately, and my relationship with my dad to a degree, when I started healing those deeper voids inside of me, then I no longer needed validation through women. And then, of course, when we don't need it, it comes in abundance. So once I no longer needed that validation, then the validation comes, but it comes in a healthier, more natural, authentic way.
I 100% agree. Like, I was just thinking about that right now. It just popped into my brain. So like, having sex, okay, great, one night stand. I may get validation and feel good for the morning or the day afterwards, but there's nothing better than when I'm frustrated and I have my woman come over to me, and she, like, I don't even have to say anything. She comes over to me, she can tell I'm off, and then she sits down and she puts her hand on me, and it's like, what's bothering you and how can I help? That's the type of connection you're looking for.
Absolutely. I mean, just to bounce off of Ricky here, it's like we came from a little two different sides. Like, I had a very loving mother, so like I felt like that helped me a lot in my childhood, and then like into high school, like that just built my confidence, and just having the respect and love of a woman is just amazing. So that was like, it's always going to be my main heart right there is my mother. But it really did help me see women as, like kind of like an equal to us, even though we are a man and they're a woman. So we have that difference. But if you could connect with, if you had that loving relationship with your mother, you could kind of transcend that with other women in your life.
Richie, the way you talk about women, like, I was able to tell that you had a good relationship with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about it in such a loving way, like, and you talk about it with that equality, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very cool. I was adopted, so I didn't have I got let go from my biological mom very early, and so that's a big trauma for me. And so that's definitely something that I'm gonna have to work through. Which here we go. You guys do therapy coaching or trauma coaching? Ricky will hit you up, but and like going to the like, again, you see, like, again, the moms with the giving the kids the iPads. A lot of those women, I don't think were had great relationships with their moms either. So it's not just on the men's side; it's on the women's side, and so they don't. Maybe that's how they were treated as kids too. Like, kind of, they have that neglect, and so they don't actually know how to raise children. And one of the big issues about our generation, I think, is a lot of people have gotten into families to look good on Facebook, look good on Instagram, be able to post pictures of their kids.
It's an ego thing, 100%. It's like, look, girls, hey, everybody, I made it. See?
Yep. Remember Rob Gronkowski's kid? And they like dressed him up as like a cowboy or whatever. He was getting so much shit for it. But yeah, like, a lot of people aren't equipped to have kids, and I think they can if they go through that trauma work, and like Ricky said, healing that mother wound, healing that father wound. I think maybe men have more of a mother wound, women have more of a father wound. Just a thought. Really deep stuff.
I
Dude.
would kind of agree with that. I mean, this is not where I thought the conversation was going to go, but I love it. But that's 100%. I think that's so true. It's like much more likely for young girls to go through trauma from a neglectful father, and then young men have more of a trauma from going through a neglectful mother.
Yeah, and then those two attract each other because their psychological blueprints
Yes,
are so
sir.
similar. So it's like when I had unhealed trauma, I was attracting women who had unhealed trauma with their father, and so it's like it becomes this attraction thing. So I mean, it definitely applies to getting over a dry spell, because it's like I think sometimes guys, at least this is my case, it's like I want to go through a dry spell, because I don't want to attract any more women that are a reflection of where my trauma was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I want to take some time and really get filled up myself, fill myself up and get confident in myself, so that I'm attracting not higher quality, let me rephrase. I'm attracting women who have either don't have the trauma or they have done the work on the trauma, so I become a match, because like Richie said, it's like, the universe gives us what we are and it gives us what we need. And psychologically, this is proven that we literally attract people who are a psychological match to us. It's like when I hear people complaining about their narcissistic ex, I'm like, well, I got some bad news for you. you are what you see in others, So it's like I was in narcissistic relationships because I was narcissistic, and similarly, I was in relationships with people that weren't very honest because I wasn't very honest. So it's like we attract, or at least we keep what we are. So if I'm chasing women, game can help with that on a really superficial way. Like I can just get women, I can have sex. But if I want quality relationships, there's a deeper level of healing that needs to happen, a deeper level of understanding myself that needs to happen.
100% agree. That's why I think it's so important that, as we've been saying throughout this discussion, fixing ourselves before we're even trying to do this. And my longest dry spell was that period of time, that 8 months I was talking about. That was right after I had gotten arrested, and stupid ass that I am, even though she was going to be on my side because the entire thing was like a mess. And I'm being very raw here, but it is what it is. It was because I broke up with her like a month before the court trial, because I couldn't handle her anymore. And it was during that period of time that the dry spell occurred, because I had to fix myself first. And then once I fixed myself, I started to meet beautiful, beautiful people.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happens. And what I think we're developing here is like the game and all this stuff has like a bad stigma to it. But if you really put out like good intentions and good vibes and trying to connect with abundance and good people, that's great. That's not a bad thing. Like a lot of the games, like, oh, how many can I get, or this and that, and very superficial. Maybe you have to start there, but that's when you're here. And then when actually you're growing and you're attracting higher quality people, higher quality women, then it's amazing. It's actually uplifting, and the confidence that you could do that, then you could do that in any facet of your life. That's like the main goal there.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
It's like, and I'll just add one little thing, and Richie, I'm sure you agree. Like, if we were raised by men and women who were raised by men who really understood attraction and women and game, and we were just raised that way, or we were raised by women, both a man and a woman who understood relationships in a really fundamental way, we wouldn't need to study these things. It would just be a natural experience. If we were raised in communities with people who had healthy relationships, we wouldn't have to go read these books and learn these things on our own, because it would be part of our fundamental programming. The reason that we need to learn this, and that, there are some stigmas around game, and again, it's like, I don't know if you guys can agree, but when I first started using game, I was using it for manipulation. I was using it to sleep with as many girls as I could. I was using it for validation of my ego. But it was like, that leads to the negative, I don't know, cause and effect, karma, whatever you want to call it. I paid for those actions. I paid for that lifestyle. But if I had been raised in a community with healthy relationships, I would have never needed to study those things. I would have been raised naturally understanding female psychology. I would have been raised to naturally understand, to live my purpose, and to be a strong masculine leader. I was raised by a man who was very masculine, but also very feminine in his emotional instability. So it's like I took on a lot of those traits. So it's like we have to learn to be men in our society. Unfortunately, we have to learn to be masculine. It's not something that, that's why 1 in 3 men, like you said earlier, Alex. I think it's like, yeah, it makes sense because we're raised primarily by women, because most men are out working all the time and they're never around. And we're not just raised by women, but we're raised by women who have been traumatized by men. So it's like no wonder we have to learn this stuff on our own. So it's like, I think game's like a kitchen knife. I can use it to cut somebody, or I can use it to cut my food. So it's like I can use it for good, or I can use it for harmful purposes. But it's not fundamentally bad. It's all in the intention and how it's used.
No, I love that. That's actually a really, really good analogy. That's something that with my coaching clients, I do get to a point. This is like master level that I don't teach a lot of people, but you can use some of the dark triad traits with people that have narcissistic personality disorder, so NPD, and then BPD, like all the cluster B stuff. You can use some of those behaviors to control your outcome with somebody else. It's dark, but if you use it for good, it's good. So it's like, what are you going to choose to use it for? Are you going to choose to use it for attacking somebody, or are you going to choose to use it for cutting your food? This is like a whole discussion. This is good, like way down, but I love that analogy because that's a specific one that certain clients have asked to learn before I even trust that they are morally grounded.
Yeah. And I'm going to leave the mic in a second, but seduction is like a feather. It's like, I can use a feather to really turn a girl on, and she loves it and she's super happy about it. But if I'm using that feather against her will and she's not consenting to it and she's not interested in it and she doesn't want to be part of that, then that feather it's a weapon. Then it's something that hurts her. And seduction's the same way. It's like women. I meet powerful women in Tulum on a regular basis. I live in Tulum, Mexico. It's like there are some incredibly beautiful, very feminine women here, and they want men to understand seduction. Like, yes, go learn this stuff, go master it, because they're tired of the feminine men who don't understand seduction and attraction. Like, they don't want to have those men around them because those men are emotionally unstable. And I was one of those guys. So it's like they want men to understand game. They want men to understand attraction. They just want men to also be purpose-driven and heart-driven. And, it said that the longest journey a man takes is from his head to his heart. So it's like when I'm living in my heart, then I'm not trying to manipulate those women. It doesn't mean I'm not having sex. It doesn't mean I'm not polyamorous. It doesn't mean I'm not having sex with lots of women. I'm just doing it from a value-based place rather than doing it from a validation place, based place.
Value over value, validation. Oh, that's huge.
I love this. And I actually do not disagree whatsoever with what Sebastian's saying here. We've been raised by women who have been traumatized by men. I think that's 100% true. Do you guys have any
vice versa? Yeah, it's just we've been raised by parents who've been traumatized by parents, or traumatized by people in general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely like a yin yang type thing. It goes both ways, and you have to. But the only thing you got to focus on yourself. You can't change the past, and you can't change what happened in societies and things that happen. You have to. If you got to be that change. You got to be the one that takes that action and put your best foot forward, because we could debate all day about what happened and what was good and what was bad, but we got to do this now. This is the Now podcast, right? So like doing courses, bouncing off of Ricky, who's like, yeah, that's good to like sharpen your sword too, because I've done them in the past, but like there was things that I've known it's been in me. You have to follow your intuition when you do these things. Like a course is for broad people, unless you're doing one-on-one coaching, that's a little different. But bouncing off of that, it's like, why did you take the course? That's like the question is always the why. Why? What are you trying to fix in yourself? Is it your confidence level? Is it your style? Is it your game? And it's not that you can't read books and understand podcasts, but it's all going to come from yourself. You have to be this, like I said, that stone wall, and it's going to come from within when you build that.
Actually, going off that, Rich, I had a couple questions for you. Like, what is your mindset around dating? Like when you go out, because we're coming from a healthy mother. Like, I'm really curious to know what you think of when you go out and date.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anywhere. It could be, the supermarket, bars, restaurants. If I'm attracted to someone and I want to make that interaction, I'm going to do it. So my thing is that utmost confidence, knowing my value in myself and as a man, and I'm going to give it a shot. So like most people have that fear of rejection. So like, where does that come from? You know, that's like the main thing. Why are you so afraid of getting rejected from a stranger? You're attracted to her, yes, and if it works out, fantastic. But it's like I used to play baseball back in high school, so it was like if you went up to 10 women, 10 plate appearances, and you have connection with 3, that's 333. That's like Pete Rose. You know what I'm saying? Like that is like the best in the game right there. So why are you so afraid of striking out when if you never did it, your chance is 0. If you try, give it a shot, man. And it values yourself up too. It's like sharpening your sword and it's creating your game. I could tell you to do certain things, but it might not work for you exactly, but you have to be you. It's just the value's got to be there.
And then Richie, when you're in a relationship with a woman or you're like on dates, etc., how does that progress for you? Like, it sounds like, you know, when if things don't work out, and I'm just assuming here that it's not this like, you know, drama filled thing. It seems to me like you are kind of pretty good at just being able to stay within yourself and say, yo, I'm out. What's that?
Absolutely. I've been in like longer term relationships and nothing ever ended bad. It was just the end of that. So there was never a time where I was like bitter about it because that's just life. It was just a relationship. We had a good time, and then it's over, and then you have to you go your way, and she goes her way, and you develop for yourself. And that's just the way it is. So it's not like it's never a negative for me. I always take things as a positive. Any type of situation that I'm in, I see the value in it and the positive in it, and that's when I go. That's what I go for. So it's about the connection and leveling yourself up. That's what it comes down to. It's never like, oh, I missed that or this and that. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out. You bounce right back.
I love that because that's kind of what I'm thinking about, where we've got like people that are like black pill or whatever, like the doomers. They go through a couple of rejections and then they completely just throw everything aside and they're just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this just sucks. Women suck, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, that is not the case. Just look at every experience that you have and learn from it. Dude, I love the baseball analogy because yeah, if you're hitting at that rate, that's amazing. So understand that most of your swings are gonna be a miss. And I think that's what gets lost, and that kind of like leads men down the path that, you know, they will never be able to succeed. Like, you know, everything is just doom and gloom. But that is not the case. The more you get out there, easier it's going to get. And yeah, you can find some beautiful relationships. My clients have, and I love it. I love it, man.
Go, Rick.
Oh, thank you, bro. There's a book called Undercover Sex Signals that I read once. It's by a woman named Leah Lowndes. And she wrote this book because she wanted men to understand all of the unconscious cues that women give us when they're attracted to us. So she talks about this dentist she has, and he can walk into the bar and he can point out every single woman that's attracted to him because he can read them. And so he doesn't even bother going to the women that aren't attracted to him. So if you don't know this stuff, you're going to get rejected because some women are just not attracted to you. And that has nothing to do with me as an individual. They're just not attracted to something. It doesn't mean I can't approach them. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to get rejected. It doesn't even necessarily mean they're not willing to experience some level of intimacy with me. But if I don't understand the cues that women give when they're attracted, then I'm going to have a higher rate of rejection. But if I understand the cues that women give when they're attracted, then I can go up to 4 women and see that 2 of them are giving me cues and 2 of them aren't. So of course I'm going to go for the women that are, or maybe depending on what kind of game I'm playing, maybe I go for the women that aren't, to whatever. But I'm going to have a higher rate of success. One of my coaches says, yes lives in the land of no. And with coaching, it's like, and Joel, you probably agree, and all you guys probably agree, not every client says yes to my offers. Not every client says yes to my opportunities. And if I take it personally, oh God, there's something wrong with my coaching, there's something wrong with my pricing, you know, I'm going to be running down that hole forever. But really, if I understand that it's statistically impossible for every single woman to want to sleep with me or every single woman to want to date me. So if I go out enough times, I'm going to be able to gather data. Like Richie said, 33%. those are high statistics. That's a really high number. And if I go and talk to 10 women, everyone rejects me, well, then talk to 20, talk to 30, talk to 40, get some data. And that, because only when I have go and get rejected by 100 women, then I'm going to have some data, then I'm going to have an understanding of how many does it take for me to get rejected by before one says yes. And until I have that data, I'm just blindly shooting in the dark. And most guys, myself included, I'll stop before I get enough data. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not enough. I'm not wearing the right things, or I'm not wearing, my hair doesn't look good enough. I didn't have a good enough haircut. It's just data though. It's just statistics.
Dude, I love that. It's the same way. Like, if you know what you can hit well, it's the IOIs, or the indicator of interest, I think it's called. Yeah, so like, if you know what you can hit, it's the same way. Like, maybe I can hit fastballs really well, but I can't hit sliders for the life of me. So instead of swinging at sliders, I just swing at fastballs, and your success rate increases.
That's great.
Yeah. Absolutely. Bounce off what Ricky said with the whole statistics and the collecting the data. I love that stuff, because that is like a major key of like getting out there in the world. Go for 50 women. Talk to them. Absolutely. Because it comes back to like, what are you trying to lose? What are you losing by not talking to them? You're losing the opportunity. That's what it is. And then I always felt that I talked to some of my friends about this. You're going to feel worse.
I'm going to say, I got to interrupt you just on this. I don't want to mess up your flow.
No, it's all right.
It's already a no. So you're just solidifying the no by not approaching.
Exactly. I talked to multiple friends about this. I said, what feels worse? Going to the girl, and if she rejects you, or never taking that shot? And all of them said never taking that shot. Because if you don't take it, you don't know, and then it actually hurts you. Because
you reject yourself. Yeah.
You reject yourself, you're lowering your value. So now, why aren't you taking that shot? What is holding you back? I mean, I've been in places where like I threw on a hoodie, and I didn't have the ultimate outfit on, but I talked to a girl in Starbucks, got a number, and it went somewhere, because I didn't care about the situation of what's happening here. We had a connection, and then it escalated from there. So it's like, once you get to that level of confidence, it's going to keep on building and building. Then you're going to attract more people in your life, and better people, better quality. And then it's just, the sky's the limit with that, man. It just keeps on going higher and higher.
Ah, man, that's so true, guys. I'm thinking back to like when I was first getting into approaching, and I always had this mindset where I had to be like in perfect condition, right? So I had to be on no fap for at least 5 days. I had to be perfectly in, spiritual harmony. And I remember one day, like I jerked off twice. I was watching TV all day. I went to the grocery store, and I just said, F it, I'm going to approach this girl. And like, got the fish. It was just like, wow. Like, it really showed that like, it's just about your energy in that moment. And that like, it doesn't need to be perfect. And she was attracted to me. And I think that kind of made me see like, it didn't matter that I was, wearing sweats. It didn't matter X, Y, or Z. It just mattered like that attraction was there. And like you guys said, if I wouldn't have gone and taken that approach, I would have known. And in my head, I probably would have been like, oh, she's too, she thinks I'm not good looking enough, or all that stuff. So yeah, that's so powerful, dude.
Yeah, Joel, I just want to ask you one thing with that is like if you didn't approach her, how would that make you feel?
It would have just confirmed that, oh, you're not good enough if you watch TV, or if you are jerking off or whatever.
But like the main thing is like the longer you wait when you're not approaching a girl, you're gonna start making stories in your head. And majority of the time, they're not going to be positive stories. That's what comes back to that law of assumption thing. You have to go into it assuming that it's going to go good, and you want to act kind of fast with it, because the more you wait around and you're looking at the girl and you're thinking about negative stories and all this stuff, the little demons in your head are going to be like, oh, don't go. There'll be another one. They're going to start convincing you not to get out there. You have to go. You got to act fast on that one.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is when I justify that she's not hot enough. You know, I start looking for all the reasons she's not attractive enough to go. But it's like, again, it's like somebody who gets the women they really love is great with women, period. And it's like Coach Corey Wayne's one of my favorite coaches, and he says treat all women the same. You know, it's like treat them all the same, because first of all, how I do anything is how I do everything. And you know, another quote, Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So it's like, if I'm just in the habit of like being around women is a normal part of my life. Being around women is a normal thing for me. It's normal for me to be around women. If that becomes my new identity, then when the girl or girls come that I'm particularly attracted to, it's not going to be like I'm going to go like, oh God, there she is. I waited all this time. Good thing I said no to all those other girls. Now I'm ready to just jump in. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to get in my head and do the same thing and probably look for reasons she's not attractive. But if I'm in that momentum, if I'm in that flow of like boom, 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 and it's just easy to just say, hey, there we are. Now we're in this position. Now we're present with you. And like you said, Richie, it's like if I wait too long, the demons get louder and louder and louder and louder and louder to the point where they're louder than my own inner voice, my own true, authentic self. And then before I know it, I'm watching that girl walk away. And I've done this many times. I've done it recently even. Joel and I have talked about this. But then as soon as I get the momentum again, I'm like, oh, right. Nothing has changed about me. All that's changed is I'm raising my statistics now. I'm actually talking to more people in general, not, and like you said earlier, not just women, but like people. I'm approaching everyone. I'm becoming a more social person. I'm becoming the person that people want to be around. And then that makes me attractive naturally. And then when I find the girls that I'm particularly attracted to, it's just a natural progression.
Yep, absolutely. And like my main thing too is like, you know, you could call it like your mojo, your game. You kind of want to have like a little name on it, because then it's something that's real. So like you want to perfect your approach, you know? So like my main thing, like if we go back to what Joel, that I say like 5 to 10 seconds tops. If you think that there's going to be a connection or you're attracted, I would say jump in it right away, because the more you're sitting there telling you those stories again in your head, you gotta it's like an untied shoelace, you know, tie it quick and keep on moving. Because then you get
I love blowing it up. I love blowing interactions, because that just shows me like something. It gives that data, it gives that experience, and then you just go ahead and you refine what you're doing the next time around.
Yeah. One of my buddies in Poland, he's like, hey man, if you're lucky, you're gonna get to see me get blown out today. And I'm like, just like, dude, what a stud. He goes and like gets like 8 numbers. I'm just like, nice. Because he has that abundance mindset, and that's what I'm hearing throughout this whole conversation is just you guys are all coming from abundance
and detachment too. You know, detachment. We're not attached to the outcome.
Oh,
that's
man.
huge. Yep,
that's huge. How does abundance and the law of attraction play into your guys' dating life? Because I know we've been talking about this a bit behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I can just spit it off quickly. I mean, for me, it's like, I imagine I live in a video game. My reality is created inside of me, and my external reality is a reflection of my internal reality. So it's really just a matter of getting clear on what I even want. Like if I'm not clear about what I'm even looking for in life, like if I'm just looking to date, or if I'm looking for a long-term relationship, or I'm just looking to sleep around, it's like getting clear on what I want, and then playing the game like a video game. Like if life was a video game, I would take it a lot less seriously. And so, you know, it's interesting how game is called game, because like I treat money like a game. I treat my fitness like a game. I treat my relationships like a game. It's really just a game. And if I can figure out the rules or the laws or the guidelines of the game, then the game is a lot more playful for me. And so when it comes to like law of attraction and manifestation, it's like I attract what I am. So again, if I'm a guy that's high value, and when I say high value, I mean I come into relationships looking to give, not looking to get. I'm not trying to get from these women. I'm trying to get in and like, how can I create value in this woman's life? How can I be the person that she walks away from if we don't continue whatever? She walks away from and says, holy shit, my life's better as a result of that experience. So I'm going into these relationships like, what kind of value can I give? And when I give, I receive. That's a fundamental law in the law of attraction. It's like, if whatever I'm giving, I'm going to receive. And if I become that guy that's a high value guy, then I'm naturally going to experience high value situations.
Oh man, yeah, I love that. That was great. What was the main question again, Joel? I'm sorry, I was just listening.
How does the law of attraction play a role in your dating life?
Right. Huge, absolutely huge. I mean, there's I think 4 billion women on the planet, somewhere around there. So it's like that mindset alone, that you don't want to be in that scarce mindset. That leads to fear, low confidence. You want to be in the abundant mindset. There's plentiful, and you're gonna achieve what you're looking to achieve, or creating a really good interaction. So it's the same thing like going to that gym. The first day, the bar feels a little loose. You got to craft that. Then you put the 25s on, the 45s on, and then you're benching 2 plates, and it's feeling good. So and that's your level. Then that's your standard. So you want to create that, keep on moving up.
Richie, you dropped a link in our group chat, and it was about the law of abundance, and that I'm going to drop it here. And it was really, I've done it the last 2 nights, and it's been so powerful. And one of them is every setback is set up for your comeback. And I was like, oh my God, dude. Like that.
I love that.
Yeah. It's so fun.
Yeah, yes. That meditation, I've been just, using it multiple times a day. It's very powerful. It really is, because every principle in there, it's from the Think and Grow Rich book. I read the book, listened to the meditation, and it just puts you in that frame of mind. So I could be in the shower, I'm listening to it, driving to work, I'm listening to it. Any dead time or low time that not a lot's going on, inject yourself with these affirmations, and then you're gonna believe it. But you have to feel that. That's the thing. It's the feeling of it and the mindset. It has to go. You can't just say these things and not believe them. Then they won't manifest.
Absolutely. And there was
Richie. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Richie.
I'm curious for Richie, and I'm asking this for myself, and I'm sure some of the guys watching too. I mean, approach is that's it. It's fundamental. If you don't approach, you don't have game. You can't create attraction if you're not approaching. And I think that what I've done a lot in the past is overcomplicate approaching. And, when I see guys that are masters at approaching, it's so simple for them. So can you talk about approaching a little bit? Like what are your philosophies around approach?
Absolutely. What you said is spot on. You have to simplify things. Like I said, this is an interaction with another human. Yeah, she's a female, but big shit at the end of the day. I'll go right up to them, either something in context, so if we're at a coffee shop, start talking about, what kind of coffee you're going to get. Something very simple. And majority of the time, they just open up once they understand that you're safe and you're just trying to connect. In nightclubs and bars, I'll go right up to someone. I want to meet you really quick. We just start, we'll shake hands, and then we'll go from there. See if there's a connection. The approach, I've been crafting it for a long time, and it just kind of comes natural. But I actually helped some of my friends. Are like, oh, we'll talk to her. You like her? Go up there and start talking. It's just like getting them off that little ledge, and then majority of the time, it just flows.
I love how you just said, I want to meet you. Like, that's it. It's like, or how you said about what coffee are you getting? It's like, just notice what's happening and say something about it.
Be in that moment.
Or just be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to meet you really quick or something like that. I think I heard that from.
Or you could even go even further, and you just say I don't know what it was, but I just saw you, and something told me I need to come meet you.
Yeah. Along those lines, it's not just that one set. Like I said, that's like the standard, and then I would just deviate from it depending on where I am. So if you're in the supermarket, wherever you are, but you want to start doing this, and you want to start doing this abundantly, because if you do it once a week, that's not enough. And if you want to, if you're in your self mode of creating yourself, you just got out of a relationship, you got to process some feelings, you got to get back to the gym, you could do that and still approach. But if you're working on yourself, keep on working on yourself, and then throw these in here once in a while. Start approaching girls, start talking to the cashier, start talking to the car wash people, everybody. Just start connecting, then it's going to come natural. And once it comes natural, then
it becomes a joke. That's exactly D'Angelo. I love this. It doesn't matter what you say, but how you say it, and you start to develop that confidence through doing it over and over and over again. And you're right; it just comes natural. When somebody asks me, well, what do I do in this situation? I'm like, I got to think about this situation. Then I'm like, oh yeah, just do this. It's not that difficult because I've done it in repetition. I've gathered the data, boom, simple. You know what to do in every scenario.
Yeah, and like so, just some like quick tips too. It's like when you are approaching the woman, you want to go into it with a lot of self-confidence. So like you want to go up there strong. If you go up there like, can I meet you? Like, no, it's like, I want to meet you really quick. Like you gotta lead that conversation. You have to put your best self out there and show that you are whole. Because if you don't do that, they're gonna sense that right away.
Yeah. Again, women are emotional beings, right? So it's like we're logical, and I know myself, I kind of logic everything, try to make it make sense. But women are emotional. So like Richie said, if you go up with an energy of funny or an energy of inspiration or an energy of confidence or energy of courage, they're going to feel that and they're going to match that. So I heard the other day someone saying like talking about something that inspires them. So sometimes I might say, hey, what's inspiring you right now? And once they're talking about inspiration, they're feeling inspiration and they're associating that inspiration with me. And so just getting them, women naturally want us to lead them. We're the leaders, we're the masculine leaders. They want to follow. It's a natural part of life. I'm not saying like submissive and controlling and manipulation, that's different, but they want us to lead. And so if we just lead, like Joel, you asked earlier about the experience I had last night. Are you okay if I share that from
Please.
Well, I was at an ecstatic dance last night, and there were like 30 people there and 20 or so were women. And it was just as easy as just going like this and just put my hand out. And they just put their hand on my hand. Then I'm twirling them around and I'm dancing with them. I didn't have to say anything to them. So it's like they just want us to lead them, really. And it's like Richie said, if they feel safe, at first they're going to want to feel safe. So, at the supermarket, they could be buying carrots. And I might say, hey, you're buying carrots right now. What's your name?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just like, it doesn't have to be. It's just like Richie said, it's just going from 0 to 1 is the hardest part, I think. Then 1 to 100, like Alex said earlier, once momentum's going, that's the easy part. Once momentum's created, it's a lot easier. But that 0 to 1, I've overcomplicated it to the point where I'm looking at her and I'm like, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? Like Richie said, 5-10 seconds, it's too much. Like I once said, 3, 2, 1, go. It's like, and if I can say that in my mind, yeah, exactly. Just go. Like, hey, you're standing in line. So am I. What's going on? What's your name? It's just like, say what's true, say what's real in that moment.
Right. Yeah. You got to present yourself. And what I also do too is like, if the conversation after the first approach, I open up multiple like tabs. Like I think about like a computer screen and you have multiple tabs running. You don't want to be just talking about the carrots all the time. You got to, carrots, where you from, this and that. You got to keep on opening different conversation points, because then it's going to get stale and she's going to be like, all right, sitting around thinking about carrots for,
That was one of the biggest changes for my game, is when I started realizing, yep, you can only talk about something for a minute or so, and then you got to move on, because otherwise the carrots get stale. And she's like, all right, I got to go. And you're just like, damn it, we were vibing about these carrots, man. Like, what's going on? Like, got to be, moving the conversation forward. That's the way I've heard of it.
Upward. And I also, what I do is in more of like a social setting, like a bar or a nightclub, after every like 2 kind of questions, you want to throw something flirty in there, get their mind going, where it's more of a sexual energy too. So it's like, where are you from? And then you could give them a compliment. Oh, it's a nice smile. And, and you just keep on working that progression. You don't want to be just talking about a dog for like, 20 minutes.
Right. It's like molding clay. You got to fine tune it to get there. And that's exactly like when maybe you intro with the carrots. I love that. You intro with the carrots, but then, after you talk about that, it's like, oh, what are you cooking with this? Like, what are you doing with the carrots? And then she says something about like, oh, like I'm making a stew. And then it's like, oh, you're making a stew. Interesting. Like, are you a cook? Like, do you enjoy cooking? Like, and then you just keep building based on what is said back to you.
And like Richie said, like creating that male-female context too, though, like really creating a context where it's like, I'm flirting with you right now. Like if there's no context there at some point, like maybe I say, oh, you're making a stew. Can I come over and have some? It's just like something, like there's got to be some kind of like I got to create a context for this is not a buddy conversation. Yeah. This is a flirting conversation. And if I don't create some kind of context, eventually it's just gonna be like, okay, well, see you later. And in the beginning, I'm sure that's fine. And for me, sometimes that's all I'm capable of. When I get out of a relationship, sometimes all I'm capable of is that boring carrot conversation. And that's better than nothing. But at some point, there needs to be some kind of transition into, hey, we're flirting right now, just so you know.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I always also another tip is like that strong eye contact. You can't be looking around the room. It's you and her. This is an interaction. And if you want to throw in, oh, you like carrots, like a little bit of flirty, but it's cool. You got to throw a little like that.
Something I found very helpful too is to make assumptions. So I would always ask questions like, "Oh, do you like carrots? Oh, do you like to cook, etc." And it became like an interview. So once I started saying like, "Hey, so I can tell you're a cook," and she, "Oh, why is that?" It's, "Oh, you got a lot of stuff here that looks like you can make a stew." Obviously, a little smoother than that, but you get the gist. It's like you're noticing things about her, and women really like that.
Mhm.
So like I always say like, "Oh, I can tell you're really healthy because you have a lot of healthy food in your basket," for example. And then she's, and it's like a compliment. Oh, you're just like, it's better than I think just ripping questions, because that's what I used to do. I'd be like, "So, what do you think about this? Oh, where are you from?" Right. So like
Mhm.
one thing I like to do is like, oh, I like in foreign countries, for example, like when I was in Poland, I'm like, "Oh, I can tell you're Ukrainian." And she goes like, "Why?" It's because you have a very feminine energy, right? And so it's creating that man to woman almost immediately. And then she knows that, you're going to take the lead. She's not going to be a boring
Yeah.
interview.
No, that's what I think is fantastic. Like, yeah, like there's levels as it goes along, but once you get to a certain point, you can. I mean, going back to what D'Angelo said, you can literally say anything as long as you do it with a smile and fun and the
Yep.
eye contact,
Mhm.
the physical aspect of it. Boom, done, closed.
Yeah, and it's also like you want to give like a somewhat of like a commanding tone is when you're in that approach. It's not like, oh, I want to meet you, or like it's no, I want to meet you. Like you really have to give that out there, that kind of like license and registration type thing. Like you're telling them what you want, and if they want to open that conversation, they will. You're not forcing it, but you're showing what you're presenting. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh, that's great. That is great.
Mhm.
Well, we're coming up here on an hour 10, so we might as well close it out because I could talk all day on this stuff. I love this stuff, and there's
Absolutely.
definitely a lot of gems that you guys will find in this discussion. But let's do a wrap up if you guys are good. Unless does anybody have anything else that they want to talk about?
I guess just like that, every guy can realize that there are no men out there who can't get women. There are just men out there who don't.
Mhm.
There are no women that can't. There are just women that don't. They just don't put the work in, and they just don't. They don't learn, and that's what holds them back.
Wow.
I like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I would just say keep on building your value, open up, have some fun. This is fun. I mean, people making
It's
it so
supposed to be fun. Dating's supposed to be fun.
Women are
Not be
beautiful.
fun.
Women are great. This is awesome. Like, what are we making this so hard to be, man? But just get out there and do the thing. Do the thing, man.
I think my biggest takeaway was that, when you don't go do that approach, you're rejecting yourself. And
Mhm.
that really hit home because I've done that. And then it's really just confirming those negative beliefs about yourself. Even this podcast, was a couple times I internally put myself down, and afterwards I'm like, wait a sec, like what I said wasn't wrong or weird or whatever. So love it, guys.
Yeah. When we come together, we got to give each other value and level each other up, and that's exactly what we did here. I think we did a great job.
Yeah. And last thing, it's like I think all of the conflict in the world, whether it's wars or corruption, it's all from men who are not getting their needs met, mostly, or people in general, but like especially men. Like conflict and wars and all these things happen because men are trying to control things because they're not getting their needs met in other ways. It's like if we, like us doing this work, us four having this conversation, the guys that are watching, like do this work so that other men can be happier and healthier too. But lead by example. We change the world through our example, not through what we say, but what we do. And it's like if more men are having happy families and happy relationships, children if they want them or whatever, the world's going to change for the better. So it's like if we can just be that example and show what that's like, we're doing our part.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to wrap up, I want to go around the horn. Understand, go ahead. This is your opportunity to plug yourself, like what you're doing, anything else, anything you want to say. And so I'll start with you, Richie. What's going on in your life?
So pretty much right now, I'm just building a little bit of a brand. I'm not really taking, paid clients. I'm open to anything. Like if you want to come, I could give you advice. I'm in a giving stage right now. So until that progresses into, when it starts getting money involved, that's fine. But reach out to me. I'm here to help. I'm here to give value and connect people. That's my main thing, is to connect people and make everything work. And just like the sky's the limit right now. I'm just flowing with it and just enjoying loving life. And I'm excited to be here and connect with really like-minded people.
Oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, guys, definitely reach out to him on his Instagram right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ricky.
Yeah, similarly, like my Instagram there, that's a great way to find me. And I wrote a book that you can find on Amazon, but you can also download it for free, rickygoodall.com/The Way. It's called The Way of the Garden. It's a little different than the topics we talked about today. Some of it's on there, but it's really about the experiences I've had in more than 500 shamanic medicine ceremonies in places like Peru and Mexico and Costa Rica and Canada and the US. And it's about the healing experiences I've been through and what I've learned about reality and manifestation and how to create the life and the world that we want to create for ourselves. And so that book's free to download. That's a great place to start, or check me out on Instagram too. I've got different things, coaching, different events I do here in Tulum, but that's the best way to find me.
Sounds good. Good stuff, man. Joel?
Sobriety University, coming over to the channel. We talk about overcoming addiction to all kinds of substances. We're going to be talking more about codependency soon, so I'm really looking forward to diving into that. And do coaching as well. We're going to be launching the community soon, so really looking forward to that, to connect with people, to connect with you guys, because that's what it's about, and learn off each other. Even though I've been on this journey for a while, I'm still always open to learning, and it makes life fun. And that's really when my life started to change, was when I adopted that mindset that it's okay to learn. Like, you're never going to know it all. And the more you can learn, the better you're going to be as a human being. So really appreciate you guys coming on and for all your wisdom, and just hearing that, dating is actually of service. Getting better with women is of service to the whole. So that really helps the Catholic guilt. So yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, likewise, brother.
Awesome. So then to wrap up, I want to let everybody know, we may have mentioned this before, but I want to put it out there again. We are doing a boot camp with James Tusk and Troy Francis down in Mexico City. Joel said he's heading down there tomorrow, and he's going to be there, and it's going to be a really, really great time. So if you're interested about that, definitely hit me up right there down below on Instagram. I'll get you all the deets. It's going to be a wild time. It's going to be so cool, especially being alongside some of the best pickup coaches in the space and in history. So definitely reach out about that. And then past that, we've got this Men of Now community launching in 2 weeks. Mark your calendars for Friday, October 13th. We will be launching everything, and we would love to have you be a part of it and come alongside like-minded individuals like these right here, where we just elevate everybody up and we just have fun doing it. So definitely keep that in mind. I'm excited for it, but that's all I got for today. This was a really, really fantastic discussion. So thank you all. Richie, thank you so much for coming on. Ricky, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
Joel,
you.
I'll talk to you later.
I love you, brother. I love you so much. All right,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Next week. Peace out.
See you.
See you guys.